This is my 2021 Ford Bronco Sport, and today I'm going to show you all of the funky, weird little quirks and features that you might not know about. Let's hop on in. First thing on the list today is a quirk or a feature that I cannot actually believe that Doug missed. So, funny enough, there is a pen holder in the center console. I have absolutely no idea why or why, it's there. I don't know if it's in the escape. I don't know what. But if you just drop your pen right in there, that way your pen's not rattling around in the center console. That's the first quirk. Surprised Doug didn't catch that. I think that might even qualify for the top 10 quirks list. The second is actually something in the rear seats that I want to show you. So there's a little catch that you can actually use to hold onto the seat belts when you fold down the rear seats, because when you fold them back up, they actually have a tendency to kind of squish the seat belt between the seat and where it actually catches on. I'll show you with the GoPro right now, and you'll be able to basically take a look and see kind of what that looks like. The next thing is actually something that the Straight Pipes video team missed. So they said, hey, when you're looking at the gauge cluster while you're driving, you only want to see a screen that shows miles per hour and not have any other clutter. So this setting is actually configurable, and what you can do is when you're in drive, you can kind of press the menu screen and select which screen you want to look at specifically. The one that you're going to want to look for if you want a completely clear and miles per hour only setup is the actual screen called Calm Screen. So you can scroll all the way to the bottom, and then as you're driving, the only thing that you're going to see is your miles per hour, which will be great. So the next thing that I want to show you is there's actually a ton of room around the spare tire to store all kinds of odds and ends. I think a lot of people are going to use this car to go camping, maybe a little bit of overlanding or off-roading, and I think there's always just a desire to store gear. So under the spare tire, there's actually plenty of room on either sides. I've seen people put a fire extinguisher, I've seen people put jacks, I've seen people put flares, and kind of all kind of accessories that might be great for the car. So the next thing I want to show you is you can actually flatten the load floor for everything to be completely flat in the back. This is a really cool feature, kind of if you're thinking about, like me, maybe sleeping out in the back of your truck and being super comfortable. In the other trims, the non-Badlands model, they have a smaller spare tire and the floor will actually be laying flat. But you can adjust the load floor or the cargo floor, so that way when you fold down the rear seats, everything is perfectly in line. If you find yourself in the unfortunate event where you're going to need to tow your Bronco Sport, definitely do some reading up now before you get to this kind of disastrous situation. So, as you know, the gear shift is actually electronic. So there's just a dial, and in order to properly tow your vehicle, you're actually going to need to look under in the driver's footwell, basically, and there's a little patch that you'll be able to open with your key from your car, and that will allow you to kind of put the car and engage it in the right gear. Check out the owner's manual under the transmission section where you can actually find this information. It'll be super helpful if you ever get broken down and you want to know how to tow this thing precisely on four wheels. Cool. So this next quirk of the car I'm calling the felt flappy things. So between the seats, which is like kind of weird, but between the front driver and passenger seats, there's these like little felt flap things. I don't really know what they're for. I'm guessing that there's probably some reason, or maybe they're in other cars, maybe it's to prevent things from rubbing against each other, but I thought it was kind of a weird quirk to have these little felt flap things on the sides of the car. Maybe they should have been tucked in, who knows, but another quirk for you. So another quirk that I found is a weird situation with the front license plate. So the front license plate has 4 bolts, and the rear license plate has 2 bolts. And also on the front license plate, there's these little tabs that actually get in the way of you bolting down the license plate frame. So if you kind of want to have your own little custom thing, you might need to think about exactly what's going to happen with the front license plate situation. If you're like me in California, where you're required to have a front license plate, just check it out when you pick up your truck. One thing that Doug may be very pleased to see is they actually added the leather steering wheel to the Badlands. When Doug was reviewing, he had a Badlands model that was a full plastic steering wheel, and he kind of knocked that off as, you know, here's some of the takeaways or bad items about the Ford Bronco Sport. And the plastic steering wheel was one thing that I wasn't sure if it was going to arrive on my truck or not. I'm happy to report that I do have my heated leather wrap steering wheel. It's a nice touch. In California, I would have preferred to have the cool seats as opposed to the extra heated seats and the heated steering wheel, but we got what we got. So I think Doug's commentary is super helpful, and things like changing out the steering wheel and his comments about the different quirks and features in cars really have an impact on how things are built and designed. One thing that kind of bothers me about a few cars is the blind spot monitoring system actually sits on the outside of the car. The little flashing light that happens when someone pulls into your blind spot is kind of unfortunate. So what's funny to me is like when you pull up in another car and maybe you're passing them and you see that their little light lights up on their mirror, it's sometimes makes you think that they put on their turn signal. And the irony is that it makes it look like they put on their turn signal as you're going through their blind spot, which is a little bit uncomfortable. And it's not necessarily dangerous, but I think it could be optimized, because if these car manufacturers moved the blind spot monitoring system onto the A-pillar, then it'd be harder for other cars to see outside into you and see like a flashing light on your A-pillar. And either way, bringing it from the mirror into the A-pillar would actually make it easier for you to see. So when you kind of look outside and it's sunny and you see a light and maybe you're not sure if it's the sun or the mirror or specifically the blind spot monitoring system, it would be great if it was on the A-pillar. It'd be really easy to see. It wouldn't be distracting to other cars that kind of pull by you in your blind spot, and you don't have this awkward situation of you go by somebody's blind spot, you think they're turning their turn signal on, and then you kind of maybe hesitate and create more chaos. I think it really could be simplified. So that's my little spiel. That's all I have to say. I don't know if any car manufacturers will hear this. I know a few car manufacturers already do have the blind spot monitoring system inside the A-pillar. I think all of them should be that way. That's my spiel. Hey everybody, that's it. If you learned something new, let me know. If you liked it, let me know. And if you want to see more Bronco Sport content, subscribe. See you in the next one.